Hey YouTube, Lucky here, and today I've got an exciting video for you. Today I'm going to do the All Destiny DLC tier list maker. Now this is actually a really fun thing. You've maybe seen it on Twitter or elsewhere, but I find this to be really fun and I want to reminisce on the old times. I've actually reorganized all of the DLCs so that they're in chronological order, and I want to go through and I want to rank them in this list, S being the best and trash being the worst, of course. And so I want to share with you my opinions on each DLC, and I have played every single one of these. I have put in hundreds of hours to every single one of these DLCs, so I definitely am qualified to speak on this. And if you guys have difference of opinion, you're more than welcome to put that down below in the comments section. So let's begin. The first one is going to be The Dark Below, the first DLC for Destiny 1. This is a really interesting one. So the raid itself at the time was actually really cool, and people liked it. And then as time went on, people were like, man, this raid's actually really short. It feels more like a strike. And it does, to be completely honest. And but the first time experience when I first played through The Dark Below was actually really cool, in the Destiny universe where we had been before, had only done the Vault of Glass. And so going down into this like dark, creepy cave and all these thralls scratching at you was actually a really cool experience. And then emerging through that, I actually really liked the DLC. And the meta at the time for PvP was really heavy with shotguns. It was definitely a shotgunner's meta. Oh my gosh, the shotguns were extremely powerful back then, and it's almost hard to remember. It's been so long; it's almost hard to remember exactly what I was using, but I can just faintly remember what the meta was like. And even at this time, I wasn't even a super serious or even try hard in Crucible per se. Like I was honestly just really casual. This was when we were just starting to stream. I'm going to put the Dark Below as I it's gotta be it's it okay, I'm gonna put it here. Okay, I'm gonna put it here. You judge me if you want. Okay, I know it's a short raid. I know it was a short raid, but it was a really cool raid. It was a raid that you could solo. And the content that was created after, like the unintentional content of people soloing the raid, spawned this whole entire community of people who do solo challenges. Like I honestly think that Crota almost put Destiny on the map in the PvE challenge world. So many people emerged from this. Tfue and Glad and countless others started doing crazy challenges with Crota once it was found out that it could be soloed. I believe it was Slayer that was the first person to ever solo it. I still remember that. I think he did it on like a hunter with a golden gun, if I remember correctly. But it's been so long. Those details may be muddied up a little bit, but I'm gonna put it as an A tier, not quite S tier, not quite S tier, but still pretty good. Then the next one is the House of Wolves. Now this one I am extremely torn about. Okay, on one hand, on the bright side, we'll start with the good. It brought Trials of Osiris, the most beloved PvP game mode of all time in Destiny history. How could you possibly not put this in S tier for that? But on the other hand, it brought Skolas and no raid? Oh my gosh, insert Gathalion meme, no raid. But it brought there was no raid, and it brought the Prison of Elders and Skolas, which wasn't that bad of an activity in and of itself, but the fact that there was a lack of raid was definitely received poorly. And so even though it brought trials, I have to put it as an A. I'm sorry if that offends you, but you have to understand. I mean, Skolas, Prison of Elders. All right, next one. All right, we've got the Taken King now. Now this, I remember this point in time. This is when shit got crazy, like really crazy. They introduced, at the time, every subclass only had two supers. You only had two supers. It brought in a third super to every class. It brought in, you can see here, it's got the tether, the storm, the hammer. That added so much diversity to the game. It was crazy. It was crazy how much that added to the game. And they were incredibly broken. Oh my god. Hammers were so broken. A hammer was like each hammer was as powerful as a Nova Bomb. It was so ridiculous. Hammers were so incredibly broken. And Storm Trance, you could Ionic Blink like so crazy. And Tether had like this broken infinite tether glitch. You could shoot like infinite tethers for a while. And even when that was set apart, you could do Shade Step twice. And it just made it for such crazy PvP gameplay that you could shade step twice. You were so evasive and you could maneuver around so well. The raid and the time of PvP and the raid was a very interesting time. They were trying to balance out the special ammo economy, and they actually did things pretty good around this time, and they were sort of trying to balance out hand cannons a little bit. I don't remember exactly when Bloom was introduced. I don't know if it was here or if it was in Rise of Iron, but it was around this time when Bloom was introduced, and that was a scary time. But I still am going to put this one as an S tier because that raid was the best raid. Man, that was such a good raid. Vault of Glass will always be, the Vault of Glass, the first raid. If you were there to experience it, you were there part of something special. But in the history and the grand scheme of things, how amazing and magnificent and well put together the raid fighting Oryx was so cool. So cool. And the Touch of Malice, it was so difficult to get. It was the craziest, like, you had to go through and it took forever and you had to go all these places and I had to watch Dato's video like 5 times just to figure it all out. Oh man, that was a really good time to be a part of the Destiny community, and the Taken King absolutely gets S tier. And if you disagree with that, you weren't there. You weren't there. If you disagree with that, you weren't there. That was such a good time. That was so much fun. All right, the next one is going to be Rise of Iron. Now, this one was interesting. The raid wasn't my favorite raid. I wasn't really like all that into it. It was a good raid though. Like, I'm not trying to shit on the raid. I think it was an okay raid. The PvP meta got really crazy around this time. They like completely destroyed special ammo, and I think it was like an icebreaker meta. At least I know that it ended with an icebreaker meta. I don't know that it was that way the entire time. I can't remember the exact timeline from the launch of Rise of Iron to the end, but I do know that the finishing touch of Rise of Iron ended with that nasty icebreaker meta in Trials that I really did not like very much. I liked that sniping was the meta, but the fact that you could get infinite sniper ammo and on a really powerful sniper and no ammo for anything else, and you literally would just run around with one gun, like a hand cannon or a pulse rifle the whole game, just made for such bland gameplay, and it was really bad. So because of the average raid, in my opinion, I'm sorry if you liked the Wrath of the Machine. If you really liked that one, I'm sorry. If you liked the Death Zamboni and all that, I was not a big fan. So I'm going to put this one as B tier. That's where I'm putting it. Okay? B tier. Okay? Next one is going to be the Curse of Osiris. I always hate being so negative, but there's no going around this one. This one was really bad. I'm going to have to hold it. I don't even need to think about it or delay it. There were some good elements to it. I'm not trying to say it was... it was a dark time. Let's just say that. Let's move on. Let's just move on. Warmind. Okay, Warmind actually brought some really cool elements to the game. Bringing back the Sleeper Simulant and all the other cool quests that went along with Warmind was actually pretty cool. I didn't mind it too much. This was the time when we were fighting so much for the time to kill to be lowered, though. So PvP time was still not really that interesting. Things didn't really get better in the PvP realm for Destiny 2 until the start of Forsaken. So even though Warmind did have some really cool PvE elements with all the stuff that it introduced, I'm still going to put Warmind as a... I'm gonna put it down as a C tier, honestly. For me personally, that was my experience with it. I didn't think it was the worst ever. Like, I didn't think it was as bad as Curse of Osiris, but it was definitely not to the level of... I can't put it next to Rise of Iron. Okay. I'm gonna leave it in C for now. If I change my mind, I will raise it up to B. That's my personal opinion, okay? My personal opinion. If you disagree, comment below. Let me know what you think. Next one, Forsaken. Such a good time. Such a good raid. The Last Wish. Such a good raid. Oh my gosh. The world's first took like 18 hours or something like that. Such an epic story told. Redeem got first. Tier 1 got second. And then Dato with his 24-hour and 2-minute run. Oh, that was hilarious with the raid stuff. The PvP meta, they listened, they buckled. Bungie said, okay, we will listen and we will lower the time to kill. I went to, if you guys don't know, I've mentioned this many times before. I went to the summit and I was unintentionally obnoxious, very unintentionally. But I looking back, I realized I was obnoxious because I mentioned on 3 occasions, maybe even 4, about lowering the time to kill. And I mean, I went in on it. I was like, you need to lower the time to kill. The game is being played so boring, so bland. You need individual gameplay. You need hero moments. People want to do things individually. That's what they've been used to or accustomed to from Destiny 1. You've rattled the entire core system and you've turned everything into a team shot meta, and no one likes it. No one likes to 4-stack Midas and shoot all together, huddled into a little group of 4 people. It's bad. It's bad, 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 bad. I was at the summit and I was relaying so much before Forsaken came out for the time to kill change. I don't take credit single-handedly for this. Of course, this is the Bungie studio. This is the community's opinion was more or less aligned with me, but I definitely tried my best. I tried my best to make sure that we got the time to kill lowered for PvP, and it worked. And the PvP time to kill right now is in a pretty good spot. I mean, you'll still see team shooting here and there, but you can definitely make individual plays. You can definitely, if you've got a sniper, that's a one-hit kill to the head. You can make individual plays. Shotguns are still devastating. Movement is still pretty good. You can definitely make individual plays. Forsaken gets the S tier. The top. It was so good. Such a good raid. Even though the PvP is still flawed in a various different ways, it was still so very good. I have to put it up there. Forsaken was a top tier DLC in my opinion. All right, so the next one I'm going to be talking about is Forsaken, and we're going into the Black Armory. Now this one was pretty cool. They brought Izanagi's Burden, it brought the Forges, Niobe Labs, and Scourge of the Past, which was a pretty cool raid. I would say Scourge of the Past is mechanically a really cool raid. I like the dynamics of it. I like the journey you kind of go through with it. I would say that the raid is probably A tier, maybe B tier because it's so short, but I would roughly rank it A tier for how well put together it is. And then obviously the Black Armory and all the story that went with that. And the Forges are really cool. It's a cool way to be able to re-roll your weapons in the game, but not like you could in Destiny 1 where you just go up to Banshee and you're just like, hey, make my Felwinter's lie a god roll. Boop. Oh, not a god roll. Okay, again, and just until you get the right roll in an instant, which was a little bit ridiculous. At least you have to kind of work through it and go through this activity if you want to get that god roll weapon. So that I kind of like that, but it does become a little bit tedious. So I sort of find myself not actually spending a ton of time in the Forges. I'm also primarily a PvP player. The replayability for the game comes from PvP, so I don't like to spend a lot of time in PvE. But overall, I do think that Black Armory was a win, and I think that it brought a lot of good things to the game. And so if I had to rank it in here amongst all of these, considering the PvP, it didn't get anything really for PvP. It's nowhere near S tier. It could maybe be an A tier or a B tier. It's kind of tough. I'm looking at the other ones I've got here. We've got the Dark Below. We've got House of Wolves in the A tier. I'm gonna put it actually in the B tier though. I'm gonna put it in the B tier. I think that's a little more appropriate for it. And I apologize if you love what it brought. I do think that it brought some really cool stuff, and it added a really unique element to the game overall. But me personally, I'm gonna put that as a B tier. And I'm gonna move on to the last one, which is the Season of the Drifter, which is where we are now. This is kind of cool. We're transitioning from actual DLCs to seasonal changes. So if I make a tier list in the future, we'll have different seasonal changes as well. So Season of the Drifter brought Gambit Prime, which I'm not really a big fan of. And I do think that the changes to Gambit were improvements, but I'm not personally a big Gambit player. And I think that the overall community isn't really super getting into Gambit. It's okay, and it's definitely Destiny, but it doesn't feel, for me, Gambit, the problem with Gambit is that it's not it doesn't have the elements of PvP that I like. You have wall hacks, or you're just getting shot by someone that has wall hacks. So it doesn't have the elements of PvP that I like, and it also doesn't really have the elements of PvE that I like, because you're kind of just shooting low tier ads and collecting motes. So it's not really I like the PvE that I like is raids specifically, of course. And so it's not really, it kind of doesn't have the elements of PvE and PvP that I'm really addicted to. So I feel like Gambit is a cool in concept, really cool. Take PvP, take PvE, marry the two together, and you have a very unique experience. I do respect Gambit, but it's not taking the elements of PvP and PvE that I'm addicted to and combining them. Instead, it's taking the elements of the two that I'm really not that interested in and combining them. So, of course, I'm definitely not that interested in Gambit, considering that that's the formula. But that's a personal thing. Maybe you really like Gambit. Maybe you're all about it. And if so, props to you. I have no hatred for Gambit. I think it's an okay game mode and a cool part of the Destiny universe overall. So I'm going to put Season of the Drifter kind of lower, though. So hopefully no one hates me too much for this, but I'm going to put it right there, personally. Didn't add anything for PvP, so that definitely lowers it down a little bit. And Gambit Prime and the Gambit stuff, I'm not really doing a whole lot with. I did like the story with it. I thought it was pretty neat, but not a whole ton with that. And then the Reckoning as well is an interesting experience, but I don't find myself grinding a ton of Reckoning. I do think that it has the cool elements that are similar to the Black Armory and the Forges, where you can sort of keep grinding this activity, but again, not really in particularly the way that I'm fond of. So I'm going to put it actually pretty low there and put it at C tier. I'm almost about to put it in B tier as I relook at it, but I'll just leave it there for now. Let me know what you think, though. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to smash that like button. Make sure to subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching, and have a good night.